this sounds like a complicated process, and anyone who knows anything about the open source ecosystem, that is mostly really dynamic. And it sounds like that automotive companies and your suppliers and vendors, they are using open source. So do you have that information, like how they came to that decision to go and use open source and figure out how they can use open source for automotive use cases?
I see the main reason is easy. They go for cost benefits. So they believe, and I guess I should choose the word wisely if it's belief, but maybe it's belief. They believe that they save money with it and they can just take open source software and they save development efforts. They're faster and don't need to care, and they're good and done. And that's where they come in. So they just saw like, is there something in it? It has two dimensions. One thing is about tools, which you use like for your scanning, or I would say anything offside of the car or off the direct product space. So basically to create the product. There it's what I see actually, even if you have open source products, you soon end up in contracts to just have like guaranteed response time. If you have say you have a hosting, you want to make sure that your hosting is operational, because if you cannot develop for a day, it's expensive. The same topics if it comes to like consuming open source. Well, you have the library, right? You just take an open source library, whatever you found, this fit the purpose, you bring it in. A reliability, robustness, whatever, you can modify it to enhance the use cases, but you don't depend on the operation in this way that you say, here's an infrastructure where I rely on, because you have understood what you have done there, you have the control over it, and you assure that it operates in the car as part of the vehicle. And then you just come and say, okay, I have some cost savings, and I do not have the time, the money, and the people to develop everything from scratch. Otherwise, I'm not competitive, and I need to fulfill like deadlines. How do I make it? And so I start consuming things from the open. And it's really the point on consuming. And then you start thinking about, okay, it sounds very good. What could happen? What are the risks on it? And then they end up with mainly compliance to say, what are the license obligations? And how do I fulfill them? Make sure that I don't have like copyleft, which is like one of the worst thing which automotive always sees. So whenever something comes up with GPL v3, you say, oh, no, we cannot use it. We need to get around of this. Which is mainly also because we have very proprietary and restricted software parts in. So as to give an example from this closed environment, I had one software part in there where we were just allowed to talk with another person about the results and the behavior of the software, when the other company in which the person is has the license for the same version of the software. If the versions differ, we were no longer allowed to exchange information on this software part. And we, as a joint venture time, it was a joint venture company of Bosch and Denso, we were not allowed to share this with our mother companies if they don't have the same version. And they actually, the member, because it was just exactly 50% split of the company. If it would be 51%, this would have been acceptable with an affiliate clause, but not with the exact 50%. And this was super strange. And then you have like this, and you talk to Apple, Google, and other things where they have really intellectual property, and you bring source code from them, and you really need to make sure, be compliant, do the things you have to do, put the right licenses in place, have the checks in there, make sure that you don't send something to the supplier, which then could say, oh, you have sent this, and then I should be able to repeat you things, and then you also need to give me this part of the stack or so. This is like risks and concerns. And where it then often fails due to the time of the time budget, whatever constraints, is then the upstreaming part later on. So I think there's thousands of modifications in products, I guess, which for the one or the other reason don't make it into upstream. And it's in simple entry point, because you may have things which are not sought to be upstreamed. If you think about the Linux kernel and the ARM system, there are device trees. If you have customer bought device trees, you may don't want to upstream them. So you maintain a patch on top. That's fair. But when you have the first patch on top, then there's something like, okay, I make my first trial, I want to add something, I bring this upstream. And then you see, okay, I need to improve things. I need to improve the documentation. I need to have code style improvements. Oh, I have iterations on doing this. But wait, the easy way out is to, here's my patch, and there are already other patches. It will be happy with all the other patch friends around this. They were thought from a different area, but they just stick there. And that's why you pile up stacks, patches. And this is like what we've seen in the past, but cars were not connected. You don't have to update software versions at this time. There was not so much, or you just separated things heavily. You had just some versions in there, and so it was there. But nowadays, where you connect everything again, where you get the interaction, then you have new legislations which demands you to do updates for several years and so on. You cannot simply switch it off. You could, but it's a question, do you want to switch off your car radio because you're not able to fix a vulnerability which could cause, let's say, increase the volume to maximum while you're driving? I mean, this could be a safety critical thing, right? So that's where we are. But it's just taken, like, it's made it away with cost benefits, and automotive is very, very cost driven. If you can save a penny, you will do it wherever you can. So that's what I experience.